Yes, welcome to the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, weekly bringing you guests who we both learn from, experts in communication, who will help us boost our business because we strengthen our communication, motivation, customer service, sales, leadership, management, and after today, our negotiation skills. And by the way, in addition to now being on video, as of a few days ago, Biz Communication Show is available as a podcast on iTunes. So we have enlarged our audience and our ways of communicating with you. Today we have a terrific guest, a true expert in her arena. She calls herself a recovering attorney because she was an attorney for 10 years, practicing attorney. And then she has become a speaker, a consultant, an advisor, a negotiation expert, and certainly a prolific author. This next month, her next book is going to come out, and the title of it is Ask Outrageously, the secret to getting what you really want. Hey, I'm going to be one of the first persons to get that book because I, like you, want to know how to ask so that I can get what I want. Welcome now to Linda Swindling, our guest on the Biz Communication Show. Hello, Linda.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm great now that you've joined us. And the first question I think many of us would like to know, you call yourself a recovering attorney. You had a very promising, productive law practice for a decade.
Yeah.
Like many people in life, you found that you wanted to shift directions. What brought that about?
I hired a business coach, Bill. I worked with a business coach for a year. And she said, I don't get it. You have tripled your practice. You're a partner in the firm. You are spending more time with your family. You still don't seem like you're happy. What makes you happy? And I guess it was the first time I'd ever thought about that, that I wasn't as happy as I could be. And she said, what really does it for you? And I said, I love to write and I do these presentations in law. And I go and do client development meetings. And she said, so you like to present? You like to speak? And I said, yes. And she said, well, you can get paid money for that. And I said, like a teacher? Because I come from a family of teachers. And she said, no, just like what you're talking about, you can write books and speak. And believe it or not, I had never heard of it. I was a communications major. And I thought the only speakers were the ones that were larger than life and motivational speakers. And I just had never considered myself that.
Well, it's interesting that if you and I were to look back at generations before ours, our parents and our grandparents, in those days, a person wouldn't leave a career. In my father's day and his father's day, if a person left a career, they would be looked on as a drifter, as probably somebody who was out of focus. And yet today, of course, people can be in a second or third or fourth career, as I certainly am. And it doesn't mean that you wiped out in anything previously. In fact, as you look back on these previous careers, there are definite ways that they prepared you for what you do now. For example, let's get to a topic that you're well known for, and that's the topic of negotiation. I think many people who watch the crime shows on television think, well, negotiation is good when you're trying to do a plea bargain or something of that sort legally, but the rest of us don't need negotiation skills. Clarify that for us. Why would we need negotiation skills, Linda?
We negotiate every day. We negotiate with our families. We negotiate with the post person, the postal service person. We negotiate at a store. Business is just one way of doing it. And so one thing to think about is, what is a negotiation? A negotiation, Bill, is just, I ask you some questions, you ask me some questions, we exchange information, and we see if, we can come to an agreement or not. And that's all we're doing. And so you're right. A lot of people think, oh, it's the swear word, negotiation, oh no. And they don't realize they're already probably doing it very well somewhere in their life.
Yeah, what do they do when they go to buy a car? What do they do when they buy a house? What do they do when they are engaging in any other major purpose? And I thought really that probably people who are in that, to use an old word, who are in a state of courtship.
Oh, that's a negotiation.
Yes, they are. They are negotiating as well. I was watching, of course, your wonderful opportunity to give a TEDx speech at Southern Methodist University.
Yeah.
I was intrigued by your experience when you attended the Jay Leno show. You got a valuable lesson from that. You share it with your readers. Please share it with our viewers.
Sure. So you're right. We were at the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, hosted by Jay Leno. And Jay, like a lot of hosts, walks out before his session, or before he tapes his program, and he says, are there any questions from the audience? And I had a question, and he saw me, and he said, you, and I was the very first one. And so what I did was I asked them the first of what I wanted to be 2 questions. And it was something like, how hard is it to do your job, or something. And he said some answer like, well, yeah, it's really hard. I get paid a lot of money and I talk to famous people. And then he moved on to the next person, who was another woman. And she asked for what I wanted. And she said, Jay, can I get a picture with you? And he said, yeah, come on down. And so she's running down. And as she runs down, he looks back over at me and he says, that's what you wanted, isn't it? And I went, yeah. And I started rising up from my chair thinking, he's gonna let me come down too. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, she asked. And that was just such a big, it has stayed with me, that lesson, that I didn't ask for what I wanted first. And so many of us don't do that. I know you know this, we did a study of over 1,000 people, and we asked them, have you ever not asked for something big? And a third of them said, yeah, I haven't. And 65% of them said, I know I don't ask enough. So it's a pretty big deal.
When I saw you make that comment on your TEDx speech, it reminded me of an illustration I've used a good bit. I had read that actor James Stewart gave all of his Hollywood memorabilia to Brigham Young University. And so the question comes up, well, why would he do that? Why not to UCLA or someone else close to Hollywood? Why? Was he an alum of Brigham Young University? Did he have an honorary degree from Brigham Young? Did he have family that went there? Was he on their board of trustees? 0 on all of those. The answer is Brigham Young asked him.
Right.
And had any of those other institutions I previously mentioned, any of those close by, asked him, and it's crazy that they didn't, they would have gotten. Which brings me to a point that I'm sure you can answer for us. Why is it we are reluctant to ask for what we really want? What are the reasons that hold us back?
That's a great question. It's all about us. We are focusing on us instead of someone else. So the 3 big reasons are usually, I am afraid I'm not going to phrase it right, or I'm going to bug them, or something along the lines of, if I ask them, they may say no. Or the big one is, I just don't want to be embarrassed in how I'm seen. So that's we're all about us. And that's not really why people tell you no. We worry about those things. We worry about, hearing the word no. And that's not why people are doing that. Not at all. So
we certainly can apply this to the process of sales. And I've heard so many times, and I've taught sales groups, and I'm sure you have as well. And one of the things we hear constantly is that there's so many salespeople who are very good at networking. They're good at building a potential client base. They're good at knowing their product. But the one place many of them fail is they don't ask for the sale. They do all these things leading up to it, but somebody else asks for the sale and gets the sale.
No, they don't want to ruin the relationship a lot of times. They say, oh, and or they think they assume that someone's going to actually perceive that they want the business. And honestly, people, just like Jay, people are not going to give it to you just out of the goodness of their heart, usually. They're not going to look out for you. You've got to look out for you and your family and your career by asking. It's a simple thing to think about. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who are reluctant to ask.
Well, there was that old saying, I think maybe Ralph Waldo Emerson quoted it a good bit about build a better mousetrap and people will beat a path to your door. No, they really won't, because there may be other people with very good mousetraps as well, but they know how to ask and they know how to present and they know how to make it very appealing. One of the places that, of course, knowing how to ask and when to ask and what to ask for is so important is when we are going to our supervisor and asking for a raise. That's a critical point in our life and career. What's your advice about that?
Well, two things. Just like you and I talked about what doesn't work, what people are really looking for you to do is one, ask for something that's appropriate, meaning they could give it to you. They have it. You know, it's like going to a hardware store and asking for a chicken fried steak. No one's going to hand you a chicken fried steak. Or in my world, it was practicing law. You know, I did a lot of mediation. I was a mediator. And people would come in. I'd say, what do you really, really want? And they'd say, an apology. I want him to respect me. I want her to really see me. I'd say, okay, you know, the court process is not about that. Nobody's going to give you a big hug. The judge isn't going to say, go hug them now and apologize. So that was one. And one was trust and respect. You know, do I really trust and respect the person? And, you know, Bill, probably 1 out of 20 of us know that. So using that, how do you go and ask for a raise? Well, you've got to make it appropriate for the boss. The boss needs to know, you know, boss, just like I've worked these last 2 years and done these things, it's not a loyalty payment. A raise is not. It's what are you going to do in the future? So boss, just like I've done that, it's going to be appropriate for you to give me a raise because this is how I'm going to add to the bottom line. I'm going to save you money. I'm going to make more sales. I'm going to help retain these people that are leaving us. So that's one thing, is ask for something that's appropriate and make it appropriate for your boss to go and talk to his or her boss. And then the second thing, what have I done that the boss really can trust and respect me on? You know, have I made my boss look good? Because that's your job as an employee, is make your boss look good. Have I kept my boss informed? Have I let him or her know issues before they become crazy issues? Have I clued them in? And, you know, really try to build that respect. Do I do what I say I'm going to do? So build on those two things and keep looking forward instead of, well, you owe it to me. No, they don't owe you anything. When you accepted that paycheck, that meant you accepted the deal that you had agreed to and the payment that you had agreed to.
You're reminding me there, Linda, of what you and I both heard, I'm sure, when we became professional speakers, and we would go to some of those who were veteran speakers, find out how to present our one sheet or our website or whatever. And one of the pieces of advice that you got and I got, which made a lot of sense, was don't emphasize the features, such as your degrees or other achievements or honor societies or that type of thing, but emphasize your benefits. And that's what you're saying. If you're asking for a raise, you're not going to get so much rewarded for the past, is what I'm understanding you're saying. you are going to be rewarded because of what you will be able to do for the corporation next.
Exactly. And if you're an entrepreneur like speakers are, or a small business owner, or a person working in a company, it's all about how am I going to help you? How am I going to make your job easier? And so you want to make their job easier right up front with this is what will happen based on what you said. These results will happen, and then you show them that they happen. So that's a trust thing. If you think about it, it's not just delivering. Delivering is, are you living in integrity? Are you helping them win with integrity? And how are you really helping them?
Switching topics, you've done a great deal of research on asking outrageously. And in your research, you probably, it seems from what I've read about your book, you might have found some gender distinctions.
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. There's a lot of books that say women won't ask. Well, not exactly. Where women have the issue is a lot of times they won't ask for themselves, which is what a lot of us have problems with. 65% of us would rather ask for someone else than ourselves. But with women, the word negotiation is the trigger. So like you and I talked about, it was a swear word for some people. It's a shutdown for a lot of women. And if you have men who will help you, or other women, or you were raised in a way that they say, oh, it's just another way of making request, you'll be shocked. If you rephrase negotiation as a request, pretty much the differences drop off. Where we saw it really show up, Bill, was in the study. Women would say, well, I can't do it because I'm a woman, or I've been brought up not to do it because I was a woman. But then when we asked them two different questions, it was like a 6% women would ask for more and 6% men would ask for more. So it was very small, basically nothing. So that's what it is. If you are leading women, if you're managing women, just encourage them. Say, I wouldn't have put you in the role if I didn't think you could do it. I wouldn't have given you this project. How are you going to ask them? What kind of requests are you going to make? And if you are a woman and this is one of your struggles, just say, you know what? I'm just going to go out and try. What's the worst that can happen?
It seems to me that women that you would be advising on that could very easily look to a trend that has taken place. It's not a large trend, I admit, but it's some trend over the past 15 years or so where women are becoming heads of major corporations. They knew how to ask.
Absolutely.
They knew how to go negotiate. They didn't get there because of their perfume and their smile, did they?
No, and remember that most small businesses are started by women. So that's the largest increase in what's going on is women will say, I'm not going to play by these rules, but I'll go out and do my own business. Women, you don't have to. You can ask, because the big aha is men feel no more comfortable or no more prepared a lot of the times. They're just ready to risk it a little bit and be embarrassed and ask. And after you do it a few times, go practice where it's safe. That's one of my things I say a lot is go to a grocery store and ask. Go to not just a garage sale or a backyard sale. Go to a garage sale in another neighborhood so no one knows you, and just practice asking. I only have $5 and it's $50. Would you take it? And just see what they say. You heard too what the biggest. You know this. What's the biggest thing that people won't ask for? They won't ask to cut in line. Isn't that crazy, Bill? They'll ask to borrow money. They'll ask for a raise. They'll ask someone to marry them. The biggest thing they won't do is cut in line. That's crazy.
Oh, my gosh. My gosh. We use the expression win-win a great deal. Mm-hmm. I know I became very familiar with that in Stephen Covey's writings. Has it been around longer than that we seek win-win in negotiations? And if so, where did that originate?
Yeah, Herb Cohen originated it. He's an author. He's written tons of negotiation books. Stephen Covey made it popular. So Herb originated, I think, in 1962. And he really had this concept that, both of us can win. We may not win exactly what we want. Now, what I see the trend being is more win-win-win. So you're not just looking at the parties that are involved, but who else benefits from that. I'm calling it wintegrity, with integrity to my community, or with integrity to my employees. So I make this deal. How does it also benefit someone else? And if you're looking at trying to make a deal durable and really last, the more people who are bought into your deal, the better off you are. It's a big trend right now, that social consciousness. And if you can put that into a deal, maybe you have a convention. And while you're at the convention, you also plant trees for the neighborhood. And you let people know, we're going to plant trees for the neighborhood, or we're going to do an initiative where we do a toy drive. There's more buy-in. You get more buy-in. The negotiation sticks a lot easier if people help support and help build that deal.
Very good. Now, we mentioned your book at the outset. Tell us a little bit about your book. We've discussed, of course, some of the major concepts. Tell us primarily when it's going to be available and how we can purchase your book.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, June 5th, it's released. And all the information is on askoutrageously.com, including that TEDx talk that you were talking about. And there's a bunch of bonus tools in there. Your viewers can find them. Not everybody knows that they're there, but if you'll scroll down, you can see them. So you can purchase it there from all the bookstores. And then also there's some secret bonus tools that, Bill, I think they'll really like.
Well, I think our conversation today has given us a pretty good preview of some of the, and let's get back to benefits, some of the benefits that we will get from your book. Now, as we close out our stimulating and very informative conversation, I know there are people who will want your contact information. What's the best way to get in touch with you? So tell us what links or telephone numbers you would want to share with us.
Perfect. Yeah, you can go back to that Ask Outrageously, and there's a contact sheet, contact page. But if you'd like to call me directly, it's 972-416-3652. And you can always reach me on Twitter too, which is at, Linda Swindling. Would love to talk to them.
Okay, this has been very enlightening. We appreciate your being with us so much, Linda. And I encourage people to watch your TEDx speech that is on, I notice it's on your LinkedIn page. Where else would we find that? YouTube, possibly?
YouTube, LinkedIn, you can Google it, or again, it's on my, on that askoutrageously.com. There's a click right through to YouTube and where they've posted it. Thanks so much, Bill.
And a speech that starts off talking about Jay Leno not giving you what you wanted. That's an interesting start right there. And I'm sure it's packed with information as valuable as what you've given us today. Thank you so much.
Sure. Well,
it's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
I'm sure in a few months, we'll talk with you again, because you are a resource that's very valuable in communication. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Bill.
And thanks to our viewers and to those who are hearing us on podcast. We appreciate your being with us. We know that you have benefited tremendously in ways that will boost your business. And since Linda has shared her contact information, I'll share mine. I'm the Biz Communication Guy, and my website is biz, that's B-I-Z, bizcommunicationguy.com. I invite you to go there, look at my services, my contact information, sign up for my newsletter where you'll get ongoing tips. Again, thanks so much for being with us today.